to Mallett and Michelle on Dripping Springs, hosted by me, Michelle Lewis, and Steve Mallett. Steve, I decided that if you were a Care Bear, your shirt would have a fish on it because of the amount of water you drink.
Oh, well, that's true.
You know what Care Bears are?
I have no idea. But I do drink a lot of water.
It's a stuffed animal, and it has like a little cloud at your side.
I would never be a stuffed animal.
Well, if you're a Care Bear.
I'd be a turtle. And Michelle Lewis, who makes up words but says them with such confidence that you question your own vocabulary.
Absolutely.
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 Hey, have you noticed all the bluebonnets out there?
I have. They're gorgeous.
I love it. I love this time of year. Mopac, just the South Mopac, is just covered with bluebonnets. And then middle of the week, I had to drive out to Fredericksburg. And the Wildflower Center out there, or Wildflower Farms, they have, it looks like it's about 5 acres just planted strictly with bluebonnets, only bluebonnets. And it's just like a carpet of bluebonnets, and right in the middle of it is a Texas flag on a flagpole.
Oh, that's so
it's gorgeous.
Cool.
Gorgeous.
Well, it's that time of the year.
It was like a traffic jam there, yeah.
Everybody goes and gets their kiddos' pictures taken. I remember one year, you know where the Circle C H-E-B is?
Yeah.
So that was the bluebonnet spot before all of that was built.
Really?
And we would take our kids out there. And I was trying to set, Kendall was a baby. And I'm trying to set them all up for the perfect bluebonnet picture. And here comes Tate with a whole handful of bluebonnets and Indian paintbrushes.
Oh, no,
now,
can't do that.
I always thought that it was illegal to pick because it's the state flower and it has been since 1901. But it's not illegal. Did you know that? I did a little. It's highly discouraged.
Yeah, well, I could see that.
But I mean,
people lose their mind if they see you cutting down.
Well,
or
if you're a
pulling
2-year-old,
well, yeah.
I mean, it's one thing. But then, you know, if you're going to go get your pictures taken in the bluebonnet, which it's a Texas tradition, just try. If people have already gone before you, just try to step where they've stepped. Try not to trample.
That's right.
The bluebonnets and watch for snakes.
I was going to say, watch out for snakes and bees, but snakes especially. Every year, somebody gets bit. Tramps. Oh, I just made up a word.
Tramping around in the
trampling.
Tramping in the bluebonnets.
Trampling around in the bluebonnets. Yeah.
If you're a tramp in the bluebonnets, we
got a problem. Where's your favorite place to go see them now?
You know, literally, it's just those little unexpected places where they just kind of pop up. When I was driving to work this morning, I saw Sunset Canyon Baptist Church has just a whole patch of them right on the side, and I like the unexpected just patch of bluebonnets that just kind of pop up on the side of the road where you think, you know, nothing's.
Have you ever been to the Willow City Loop?
I don't know. Maybe I have been, but I didn't know if that's what it was called.
There's a little wide spot in the road, sort of northeast of Fredericksburg, called Willow City. There's like 5 buildings there.
You use directions like I understand what the hell you're talking about. Like you can say there's a little cafe, and then there's like that cute boutique right there.
I'm pointing with my hand, and it's that direction.
Oh,
so now you know. Okay.
Okay. Where the wineries are?
Yes, that way. Yes.
Okay.
And so from Willow City, there's about a 10-mile road that winds through the hill country, and it goes up and down, follows this little river for a while. I don't know what the river is. There's a bunch of red rock formations out, the granite formations, and this time of year, it is covered with wildflowers, not just bluebonnets, but all kinds of wildflowers, and it's gorgeous. And there's places you can pull off and take pictures, and even without the wildflowers, it's actually a beautiful drive. But with wildflowers, it's fantastic.
I need to go out there then.
Holly and I, a few years ago, rode our motorcycle out there and went up this little cow track, half a mile up into the woods, and found a little creek with a dam and a little meadow. And
didn't you take a picture or something? There was like a longhorn or something.
There was some cows there. Yeah, it was so fun. It's a beautiful place. Willow City Loop.
I like the bluebonnets, of course, but I also like the Indian paintbrushes. Those are one of my favorite wildflowers. And I know that I had some facts about wildflowers in Texas, and I know you did too.
I do, yeah. Texas bluebonnets, also known as buffalo clover, wolf flower, and a Mexican name is El Conejo, which I've seen that before, and I didn't know that that was a word for bluebonnets.
It's also a good drink. It's not,
Is it? Maybe that's where I heard.
I just made it up.
Another thing is I've always spelled bluebonnets as 2 words, but it's 1 word.
Oh, no. Really?
I've always spelled it as 2 words.
Because you're foreign. You're
I
not
know.
from
I'm a
Texas.
ferner.
You're
not from Texas.
Get a rope.
Yeah. And the blooming period for wildflowers is from March to May, but I think the prime season is right now, middle of April, right? And April 24th is Texas State Wildflower Day.
Oh, so if you haven't been out to Lady Bird Johnson's Wildflower Center, you definitely need to make a trip out there. It's really gorgeous. So in mentioning the Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center, which is off of Mopac by the what do they call it? The Velum?
Veloway.
Veloway. Mm-hmm. I said Velum.
That's where Holly got run over by while she was rollerblading by a guy on a bike. Yeah,
that was, way to...
I'm sorry.
Down my story.
Yeah, well, you said Veloway. That's just...
So sorry.
What was I supposed to say?
If
I hadn't have said that, Holly would have been like, you didn't mention.
Poor Holly. I'm sorry,
poor
Holly. Okay, so did you know that back in 1965, I wasn't born yet, so you were like a teenager or something back then, there was a bill known as the Lady Bird's Bill.
Didn't know that.
It was pushed from the White House by then First Lady, Lady Bird Johnson, to pass the Beautification Act. And so basically it was kind of like the Highway Beautification Act all over the United States. But Texas and bluebonnets, or Texas bluebonnets, is synonymous with ladybird.
Oh, yeah.
And so a lot of people think that she's the reason why we have wildflowers all around Texas, and they're not wrong 100%.
Yeah, I always thought that.
TxDOT, which is Texas Department of Transportation, plants on average about 30,000 pounds of seeds, wildflower seeds, a year, due to Ladybird pursuing then Senator Lloyd Bentsen to amend the Surface Transportation and Uniform Relocation Act. And what that means, it's really long, but it required a quarter of every 1% of federal funds spent on landscaping roadsides to be used for planting wildflowers. So that is basically why we have so many wildflowers here, because she helped push that through Texas. But TxDOT, since 1934, already had a process or a policy in place to delay the mowing season on the side of the highways to late spring, early summer in order to protect the wildflowers. So, a lot of times you'll see the grass kind of knee high up on the highways, but that is so that they will germinate and we'll have them for next year. So that's
pretty cool.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Did you see the little area on 290 where I think 2 weeks ago we had a little grass fire in a couple of spots?
A couple, like 10 spots. Yeah.
So watch your chains, people. That's what happened. But if you look within the burned areas, there's wildflowers that have popped up.
They're
around
already
it.
popping back up.
Yeah, I thought that was
I
thought that was really cool.
And then flowers, going from wildflowers to weddings.
Yes.
So a couple things going on. Sara Debish from SoMa Events is going to be our guest today.
She's a wedding planner?
Party planner, wedding planner, based here in Dripping Springs. She's got a crazy story to tell. Before we get to the wedding stuff, though, I wanted to ask our listeners something. Our show's taken off, and it's been a much bigger hit than I think you and I ever expected.
I mean,
it's been a lot of fun.
Practically international podcast stars.
International. Yeah, it's true. We do have some listeners overseas.
It's getting a little creepy that you're selling your autograph at the HB parking lot. So I've had a couple of people asking.
50 cents. But what I wanted to ask was, we're getting a lot of people listening to us, but it would really help us out if, while you're listening, you follow us and leave a review. And you can do that on Apple Podcast or Spotify or iHeart, the iHeart app, Stitcher, any place you listen to your podcast. If you like the show and you listen, please just follow us and leave a review. It helps us out a bunch in how we show up in people's searches.
We also have Instagram and Facebook too. And
we do.
Steve likes to post embarrassing pictures of me.
That's true.
And
my favorite video is you hitting your forehead with that.
Well, I have one I need to post, and I think I may post this weekend, but it's one of you with the Stitch Fitch box.
Oh, well, that's good.
Very proud of that
for
one.
A second, I thought you were going to say me in a Speedo.
No, I don't. I'm going to spare our.
Please do. But anyway, we wanted to say we really appreciate everybody that's listening. We feel honored that you spend your time with us, and so just thank you from the bottom of our hearts. But weddings. Wedding capital of Texas, Dripping Springs.
Little old Dripping Springs. Can you believe that? Little teeny old Dripping Springs. So I was doing some research on weddings, and given the fact that I am kind of a pseudo expert right now.
Yeah, you are. That's actually going to be one of my Michelleisms. The only person I've ever met that did 3 weddings in 2 years and lived to tell about it.
18 months.
18 months.
18 months.
Crazy.
Yes, 18 months. So there's a lot I have learned about weddings.
I bet.
Ooh, when I got married, next month will be 29 years that I've been married. And you just celebrated your second
anniversary.
Wedding anniversary. Yep. Congratulations.
Yep. Thank you.
So 29 years. I was 13 when I got married. Weddings are big business. Big, huge business. So typically, the year outside of COVID, we're not going to look into COVID.
Yeah.
2.1 million weddings take place typically. 1.3 happened during COVID. And when I was reading about the weddings during COVID, they were talking about that a lot of those were just unattended weddings. They were just the officiant. Mm-hmm. And
some of our best friends got married that way. It was just the 2 of them and a woman that did the ceremony at the Wildflower Center.
So I think a lot of people don't know, even though my son had the big wedding, my military son, actually his marriage took place in my living room over Zoom and some weird game app that Logan and Tate decided that the video was better.
So we got married on a PlayStation.
Yeah, so we had I had my work computer there. I had the big TV screen, and then we had the TV screen up on the fireplace. And Tate was still in Puerto Rico. Madison flew barely by the hair of her chinny chin chin, flew from California. Wow. And she was in my living room, and I officiated. I am an ordained minister. Wow. And we had to do it a wedding by proxy because he's in the military and he's OCONUS outside the continental U.S. It's all legal, apparently.
Apparently.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah. So, Maddie, you have
quotation marks.
Yeah.
It's legal. It's legal.
But her parents watched from Zoom out of California. And so Maddie was in our living room, Tate. So she basically got married to a TV screen. And my daughter was Tate's stand-in. So she signed the official marriage certificate. So we like to say that they're sister wives. But along with that, did you just guess what you think an average wedding cost?
I would have said at one time, $10,000, $15,000, but I bet it's more than that.
So it's $30,000.
That's insane.
Average,
that is a down payment on a house.
So average wedding is $30,000. Actually, that wedding that we were talking about, Tate, it cost Todd $600 at Carve just for dinner. So I said this was the cheapest wedding reception you ever got out of. But $30,000. Guess what the most expensive wedding ever was in the United States. And
in the United States?
No, I'm sorry, not in the United States, in the world.
Was it the Princess Diana?
Oh my gosh, you got it right.
Did I?
Yeah. $110 million. Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's ridiculous.
110. And the second closest was around 55 million. And it was in, I think I say this right, Versailles in Paris in 2004. But Princess Diana, along with all of the security and televised hoo-ha, it was 110 million.
I think it's a great thing. I love, people getting married, and I love the relationships and all that. But God, that's so much money that it's a one-day party.
I know.
I know what it's celebrating, but it doesn't have anything to do with, I'm such a curmudgeon. I know I am, but it doesn't have anything to do with how long that marriage lasts.
You're exactly right. Because I've told all of my children, it's not necessarily about your wedding day. It's the day after.
Yeah.
That's the day. That's what you need to worry about. And so the number one thing that the money is spent on are venues.
Oh, of course.
The venues are very expensive, and trust me, I can tell you, I about lost my schnizzle on one venue after Snowmageddon here.
Oh, that's
Dripping
right.
Spring.
All the plants were dead, and they weren't going to do anything.
Yeah, that was a good time. The second most thing is photographers and videographer, and I can also attest to that because my daughter we have a $7,000 video photographer.
Insane.
Yeah.
I kind of can see that because, the memories live on in the photographs and the video, but some of the other stuff that gets money.
It's a little cuckoo, but
don't you feel like young girls, though, are, I hate to use the word, groomed from a very young age to think that they've got to have that huge wedding.
You know what it is now? It's Pinterest. And I have heard that time and time again from every vendor, from our flowers to the caterer to our venues. Pinterest has been the best thing for the wedding industry and the worst thing for the people that are paying for the wedding.
Well, yeah.
But I found a very interesting statistic that marriage has hit an all-time low.
The number of people that are married? The percentage of people that are married.
Yeah. So back in 2019 was the all-time low of 6.1 per 1,000 people are married, down from 8.2 per 1,000 people in 2000. That's what I found.
We need to check.
Are you pulling up the BS
I think
flag?
we're going to have to check that out.
I found sure. That was in I don't know if that was in the Knot or whatever. I should probably cite my sources.
Less than 1 person in 10 is married.
All over the world.
Okay.
Not in the United States, all over the world. I guess
I was thinking the United States. Yeah. But yeah, that makes sense.
But given the fact that we are the wedding capital of Texas, right? Not the world.
How many weddings do you think are held out here every year?
So 3,500 on average.
In Dripping Springs?
In Dripping Springs. And we have give or take, I think, and growing, 35 wedding venues within a 15-mile radius of Dripping Springs.
Wow.
And apparently it's thanks to our representative back in the day, Jason Isaac, of why...
That was his idea.
Well, I don't know if it was his idea. I think it was... what is her name?
Pam?
No, not Pam. I can see her face, but I can't think of her name.
Was she with the chamber?
Yes. I can see her name.
Yeah.
We're going to have to edit this out. She's blonde.
Sherry Parks.
Sherry Parks. Yes, that's it. Maybe we're not going to.
We're not going to edit it.
Sorry, Sherry. I was like, I can see her face.
Sorry, Sherry.
I just saw her on Facebook. So I think that it was her idea. She pushed it, and then Jason just kind of took the ball and ran with it, and then went to the house, and I think it was. So we officially have the designation of the wedding capital of Texas. So if I'm wrong, I'm sure when we have Pam on, she'll correct me. But 3,500 weddings.
That's a lot. And if the average wedding is 30,000, I don't know what, I can't do that.
So you know what that means. In 18 months, I have spent about $65,000 to $70,000 on weddings in 18 months.
That's freaking scary.
So if anybody out there needs an O positive kidney, I'm willing to sell part of my kidney.
That's $105 million brought into our local economy from weddings.
So I wonder where that, I'm sure that there's like a hotel tax also.
Yeah.
Right? So there's other fees. Like we are charged a service fee. And I was like, what is the service fee for on top of the wedding venue? Now this was, mind you, this is only at one wedding venue that we're currently dealing with right now.
It's probably like that charge you get when you buy a car. They call it like dealer prep, and it's basically they just add $1,000.
You want to know what bullshit charge it was?
Yeah.
I asked him. I said, "So what is this little service?" I was thinking, okay, maybe it's the tips or something like that, because you also have to tip all your vendors too. Yeah. No, it's to cover the electricity and the use of the of the venue. And I was like, I thought that's why I'm paying $12,000
$12,000. Oh, and I got to pay for the electricity too. What about the toilet paper in the bathroom?
Yeah, I think I have to bring
Is that $50 a roll?
Please bring your own toilet paper. Also, I have to tell you something that was really funny too, because Kendall, I'm having her shower this week, in her bridal shower. And Kendall asked me two questions. One, what was I getting her for a wedding shower? And I said, I just spent on the shower.
And spent $2,000 on your shower.
And I told her, I said, you need to go register for more things. And she said, I don't want to register for more things. I just want gift cards. And I said, no, people want to give you a gift. That's what the whole point of the shower is. They shower you with gifts. Yeah. So I hacked into her Target registry. I did. And I registered her for more things.
You're a private eye. You can find out anything on anybody on social media, and you're a hacker. I am a hacker. Yeah, I am. Oh, and so with that, before we bring Sarah on, I just wanted to remind you of my favorite quote. I found this the other day. So whenever I stroll in the mornings, sometimes it's 8:45 and sometimes it's 9:45. Sometimes it's later than that.
There's just a good little window. And I just wanted to tell you, this is from Yellowstone. I saw this and I thought about it. It's like, I am never early and I am never late. I am the constant your time adjusts to.
That's Beth said that, didn't she?
No, it wasn't Beth. It was the older lady that she was fighting with.
Oh, yeah.
In that company that she was working for. It's one of my
favorite shows.
So, yeah. Have you watched 1883?
No, I don't want to pay for Paramount.
No, I only watched the first 3 episodes because I didn't. Hey, if anybody wants to, along with those questions, if anybody wants to send us your Paramount Plus password,
Mallett and Michelle at gmail.com. Yeah.
We'll give you a shout out.
Hey, let's take a little break and step out and get Sara Debish in here from SoMa Events. I'm excited to hear about all the stuff going on here with weddings and everything.
I am too. And she's got a story to tell too. So,
she does.
She's a resident of Dripping Springs. So you guys hold tight.
Yep. We'll be right back.
This show is brought to you in part by the Mallett Integrity Team, serving Dripping Springs, Austin, and the surrounding areas of Central Texas since 2004. When you need the best real estate advice and service, give them a call at 512-829-2062 or email them at mallettintegrityteam.com.
All right, we are here with Sara Debish from SoMa Events, and welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
When did you move to Dripping Springs?
I moved here about 9 years ago with my family. I'm from a very small town in Texas, in South Texas.
Where are you from?
George West.
Oh, George West.
Yes, George
I've
West.
never heard of that.
It's a hunting town.
It's a speed trap.
It's a speed trap. That's so true. There's so many cops. Do not speed through there.
Is it on the way to someplace else?
It's on the way to Freer, Kingsville, Corpus.
Nowhere.
Oh, Corpus. Okay.
It's on the way. Corpus Christi. It's on the way to nowhere.
Okay.
But the cops used to pull me over because they were my friends, and my dad was the fire chief, and he'd be like, "Why are you getting pulled over?" And I was like, "It's not that. He just wanted to say hi because I've been at college and I haven't been home."
That is a small town.
It is.
Honey, that's why I get pulled over also. I just want to say hi.
Well, we were living in Austin, and at the time, we had 4 children, and Austin just wasn't my vibe. The schools weren't what I was looking for, and my husband's from Austin, but I was like, I can see my neighbor every morning, and I love her. She's awesome. We're still friends, but I don't want to wave at her every morning, Yeah. So we moved out here and got a couple of acres so that the kids can run and play.
When was that?
It was 9 years ago.
2012,
2013. Yeah.
Are you going to ask me to do math?
No.
Hold on. How many fingers do I have?
You'd have to take your shoes off.
Oh, thank you. That's easy.
And you told us a story about you met your husband at Founders Day, which is coming up.
It is coming up. We're so excited. Yes. So I was working in South Austin, and I did not want to go and do anything. And my best friend, whose husband does the cook-off every year, and she was like, "You have to come out here. You need to come out here." I'm like, "I don't want to go. I got to feed my dog." And she's like, "No, come out here." So I came out here. I met my husband, Daryl. And he tells everybody on the way, he asked me if I want to go to the parade. I was like, sure, why not?
Yeah.
So he and I started walking down there. We talked church, we talked politics, we talked life goals and kind of what we want. And he said from that moment, he knew he was going to marry me.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
So did you have a turkey leg or a funnel cake in your hand when you met him?
No, I was eating brisket.
Oh, okay. Well, that's acceptable. That's acceptable. Hey, that's all about Founders. You go over there and you go taste all the barbecue samplings. You
taste everything.
Everything.
It is all so very good. And even like the Mexican corn and the corn on the cob.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And you smell like smoke for 2 weeks.
For 2 weeks. And my husband laughs at me because I come home and I smell my hair and I'm like, I've got to wash it.
Yeah.
I got to wash it because you're just inundated.
It smells good when you're there, but when you get home, you're like, no, that's not a good smell.
Yeah. It's not what I want to be waking up to.
Yeah. And then you guys got married at Founders Day?
Right.
So we got married Founders Day weekend.
Okay.
Yeah. So
not the same weekend.
Not the same weekend.
I was like, well,
a year later.
Okay.
So, and that's a funny story in itself because my husband had found out he was being deployed. Mm-hmm. I get a call on April Fool's.
And what branch was he?
Army.
Okay.
Army. And I get a call on April Fool's asking me over the phone to marry him. And I was like, no, and that's not funny. And I hung up on him. He called my best friend who introduced us. She said, that's not funny. And she hung up on him too. He had just found out he was getting deployed for a year and a half. We had talked about marriage. I wasn't ready. And it took me a week to say yes to him. He came back and did it right, though. He had a ring. He got on his knee.
Oh, that's good. That's nice.
He made up for it.
And he had two children prior.
Mm-hmm.
And so you guys get married. He's deployed. And here you are raising two little girls.
7 and 3, Tyler and Sierra. And I say it was probably the best thing that happened to us because I went from being single to married for 6 weeks
wow.
and then a single mom for a year and a half. And I had the girls, probably 90% of the time. And
you were not a mom before this.
I was not a mom before this.
So 6 weeks of training and boom, you're in the middle of it.
I'm like, here I am.
Yeah.
What was the hardest part of that experience and that time?
Oh, gosh. When you have children who have dealt with a very difficult divorce and one of the parents has a lot of issues, all the issues that come with that for the kids, because you want the best for them, and I didn't look at them anything other than those are my daughters.
Sure.
People would go, you have stepchildren? I said, no, I have bonus children. They're my kids. And it's kind of creepy how much Tyler looks like me.
I know she actually does.
She does.
That's funny.
I've known Tyler for a long time. So
yeah, but it was something that really brought us together. And we've always had that really good foundation. I haven't been the evil stepmom.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, oh, you like your stepmom? Tyler's like, yeah, I like my stepmom. I mean, she even invited me to go out for her 21st birthday in Vegas. And I'm like, you don't want your mom with you?
Holy cow. Yeah. Wow.
I was like, you want to go and have fun?
Yeah.
If you end up in jail, that's when you call me.
right.
That's right.
So while your husband was deployed, you were here in Dripping Springs, correct?
I was in Austin.
You were in Austin. Mm-hmm. So did you find other military wives and moms to kind of rally around you and support? Or is it hard because it is Austin and we're not really known as a military town? I have a military kiddo. Yeah. So you kind of have to search if you want something.
You do have to search. And with my husband being an officer, it puts you in a different rank.
Oh, yeah.
So you're not necessarily included in all the, other military functions, but I was also part of the readiness officer team. So the military wife who, if there was a soldier and they couldn't make their utility bill or they needed a new washer and dryer, how can we support them? So I supported in that way. But I have a huge family and I'm very, very blessed and a really great group of friends. So those were really my supports during that time.
That's great. Because, living this kind of pseudo-military life, as a military mom, there are a lot that people don't understand, the struggles and the emotions that kind of go through with sending your loved one off in the care of somebody else. And I remember when my kiddo joined the military, it was a real shift thinking they don't belong to me anymore. They belong to the United States Coast Guard. It's like for Tate. And so I guess in that sense where this is your husband, this is your children's father, it's difficult.
It was very difficult. And you didn't have the technology.
And you're a newlywed. Here's your husband, and he's halfway across the world.
I do have to admit, I did ask him to rent back my apartment because I needed a safe space. But,
do you still have this apartment, and can we go later?
Can we please go there? I just need one day. But, back then they didn't have the technology. They kind of had Skype that kind of worked. So, and it got better. We were lucky if we got phone calls.
Well, you didn't have FaceTime.
No FaceTime. Wow. No FaceTime. It was, and that part was hard because you never knew when he was going to call. You're working full time. Yeah. You have kids who are all over the place with sports and activities. Yeah. And it's like, can I drop it to talk to him? Because I don't know what's going to happen.
Steve has said that when my son was on. It's like, if my son would call, I don't care what we were doing.
We would be in the middle of some super important thing, and she's like, "It's Tate," and she'd jump up and run out of the room.
See ya, suckers.
Yeah.
I know. I did that with Tyler because Tyler went in and she was finishing up boot camp, and I remember being at a birthday party, got a phone call from a number I did not recognize. I picked it up and she was like, "Sarah, I need to tell you, I'm at the top of my class and I'm so tired and I love you, but I gotta go." And I was like, "Keep it up, Ty."
Oh, good for her. That's great. That's great.
So you never know. You always picked up the phone calls.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then So 12 years ago, you had your first. You had two already, but your first biological. There you go.
Yes.
And that's your son. I can't see his name here.
Colton.
Oh, I got a Colton. And that was a difficult pregnancy.
Everything was difficult. So I couldn't get pregnant. I actually had to have surgery to get pregnant. I had a bifurcated uterus, which means I had a wall, and I had endometriosis. And right before my husband gets deployed again, he was like, let's have a baby. And I was like,
you're psycho.
Okay, let's do this.
Yeah.
And everything went really, really smooth. Like I was walking 3 miles a day. I was feeling good. And then one day I got a migraine and I went down. Really? And I went to a hospital here in Austin. And they pumped me full of morphine and sent me home, even though I had a blood pressure spike.
And you were pregnant.
And I was pregnant, which they should have kept me. That's huge. And then the next couple of days, I don't remember a whole lot. My mother-in-law has had to fill me in. I remember waking up in my bed to Tyler saying, Sarah, get up. You look horrible. And I looked at her and I go, Tyler, that is not very nice. And she goes, no, look in the mirror. I had a black eye. My face was completely scraped up. Wow. I had almost bit through my tongue. So I'd had a seizure, fallen somewhere. We don't know. And she had shown up to pick up her soccer shoes, and her biological mother was there, and she goes, do you want my mom to take me to the hospital? I'm like, no. Yeah. But I said I had already called her grandma. I don't remember any of this. So she's taking me back to the hospital. My poor nephew, Michael, was with us, and she wheels me in. And as my mother-in-law's walking in, I go into a grand mal seizure.
Oh, jeez.
And my poor nephew sees all of this. And apparently I had 3 more grand mal seizures. They star-flighted me over to Brackenridge. We were there for a couple of days, or maybe a day. I have to ask my mom. I mean, it's so foggy.
Yeah.
And they Red Cross Daryl.
So you know what that is, Red Crossing.
When there's an emergency or somebody dies, they can get somebody out of a war zone. Well, my husband was patrolling in downtown Baghdad, making business deals with all this cash. I know. Hello, can you just drop everything and come back over here?
Wow.
Well, as the story goes, he talked to the doctor and he said, you need to make a decision as to which one will live, because I don't know which one will survive. And he goes, I can't make that decision.
No.
So, and the whole time I am so calm. I said, say a prayer. We're going to be fine.
How many weeks along were you at this point?
I was 29 weeks.
Oh, wow.
So he was born shortly after?
The next day.
Oh, wow. So they took him.
They took him because I had 2 losses of blood flow to him, and they didn't want anything else. So they went ahead and took him. Later, because I came back and I told Mom, I said, I felt everything. I felt them cut me open. I felt them take him out. And later we found out they gave me 1/10 of the medication they should have given me. So apparently I did fill it all. He was 2 pounds, 5 ounces and 14 inches long.
Jeez.
I tell everybody, I know what he's going to look like as an old man, because he had no body fat.
Oh, yeah.
And he looked like a little old man.
Oh, interesting. So his skin was all loose.
Yeah.
How old is he right now?
He's 12.
And how tall is he? And
gosh, he's 5'3" and
thriving. And
he hasn't had any health issues?
You know, we've been very blessed. Some learning disabilities, some social cues. But besides that, no.
A lot of kids have that.
Yeah. And I'm like, he's ADHD. A lot of kids have that. He's dyslexic. A lot of kids have that.
My kids were. I'm dyslexic. I use that a lot with Steve. So I'm pretty
Sarah,
bad.
She is dyslexic.
I'm pretty bad. Actually, it's so bad. Sometimes we've gone to the wrong houses because I have.
She writes the
number
address
backwards.
Wrong.
In college, I would do that with phone numbers. And the lady I worked for, who is my mom's childhood friend, she goes, if I called the wrong person, I knew which numbers to flip.
I just did that the other day.
But we weren't diagnosed when we were younger.
That's right. That's right.
So sorry, Steve.
Yeah.
So sorry.
And so then you got diagnosed with, so the cause of all this was what?
I'm allergic to the pregnancy hormone HCGs.
How'd they find that out?
It wasn't for years. So
until your second one.
No, it was after my second one.
Oh my goodness.
So I accidentally get pregnant. God bless him. I love that kid. He is amazing. It was an accident, and I cried. And then I gained 60 pounds of water weight in 1 week. I had been on bed rest for 2 months already. My potassium level had spiked up. I called my doctor and I was like, get this kid out of me. He's cooked. He's 36 weeks.
Yeah.
And she was like, come in the office. You're being dramatic. I walk in and she goes, go to the hospital right now.
Wow.
And I said, okay.
So was it preeclampsia as well?
Yes and no. They haven't, because it's so rare of what happened to me, they don't really have a good solid diagnosis. They say you're allergic to HCG. You probably had preeclampsia because you had some blood pressure spikes, but there's nothing definitive in there.
Normally you're allergic to the teenager phase, not the actual.
Are you ever?
No kidding.
Well, and with him, after I had him, I had seizures and went back to the hospital, and then my creatinine spiked. And I couldn't drive for 6 months because all those are in your body after you have a child for 6 months. So my mom would drive me around to work. It was great. I got to spend a lot of time.
Well, that's good.
So you have all of this going on, and in the meantime, you professionally, you have a master's degree. You're in the healthcare world yourself, not necessarily as a caregiver, but you're in the marketing kind of healthcare world. So you kind of understand, and probably have the resources too to understand really enough to know what was going on with you probably wasn't correct. The care that you were receiving wasn't correct.
Was not correct, and nobody would really listen, which is crazy to say. I had some great doctors, but they had never dealt with this before. They had never seen it. And actually, my best friend diagnosed me because, everybody was having a little HCG to help them get that little last bit of the weight off. I was at work and I said, I don't feel good. And they said, you don't sound right. You want us to drive you home? And I'm like, nah, I'm good. And as I'm driving home, I'm coming from North Austin. I'm going past Barton Creek Mall, and it's bridge. And I'm like, something's not right. And there's a cop in front of me. I'm honking. I'm flashing my lights. He doesn't stop. I pull over. I try to dial my husband. My fingers aren't working. And I keep thinking, I'm having a stroke. And some angel pulled over and said, do you need help? And all I could do was shake my head yes. And he got on my phone before we had, security on our phone. And he called 911. He called my husband. He called my mother-in-law. And my mother-in-law showed up. They asked me if I knew her. I said no. I got to the hospital. They asked me if I knew my husband. I said no.
Oh, boy.
And my best friend came in and said the same common factor in all of this is her HCG.
So HCG is a hormone that your body makes when you're pregnant. And so after you had your son, you were taking it as a supplement?
So it was probably a year after I had my second son, just because I could not get that 10 pounds off. And everybody's like,
that's what
HCG.
I'm asking. So so the doctor prescribed you this HCG, which was almost poisonous to your system.
It was poison to me.
That's crazy. Wow. Yeah. And through all this, you're still working in the healthcare. Well,
I'm still working in healthcare. And I tell everybody, with the stroke I had having Colton, I learned to manage my stress. Because I used to be very, very high strung. And I'm like, I still get anxiety. I still get stressed out. But it's not to the extent it used to be.
I don't at all, Steve. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm
cool as a flipping cucumber.
How many times a week do I say, calm down, Michelle? Yeah. It's okay. It's all right.
I think last week you hit me with a stress ball in my forehead.
Not on purpose.
I don't think that's what they're used for.
It knocked me out.
Not on purpose. Didn't do that on purpose.
I love it.
So then you were 20 years in the corporate healthcare world.
Yes.
And when did you get out of that?
Last April.
Wow. Okay.
Well, what was going on last April?
I don't know.
No clue. You know that little thing called COVID.
Yeah.
It was so much fun.
You used the phrase COVID tired.
I was COVID tired. So, being a marketing person, I was always out talking to doctors and case managers and educating people and throwing parties. It was great. And talking, just working their cases. When COVID hit, because I was considered a manager, they were like, here, come into the building 12 hours a day. Yeah. And I loved my resident.
No.
I know. Well, and then they go, has anybody ever sewn before? And I'm like, Yeah, when I was in high school, they were like, great, you can make masks for all of our residents.
Oh, my goodness.
I sewed 1,000 masks.
Oh,
For all of our employees. I was like, I'm the highest paid sweatshop.
Wow. And then, so the COVID tired, that was just from being in that environment.
Being in that environment, getting your nose assaulted 3 times a week.
Oh, yeah.
You know, always having to take the precautions. A lot of our nursing staff would have indentions on their nose from the N95 masks. And, you know, they're exhausted and trying to find staff who still wanted to work because everybody's like, I don't want to touch this. I don't want to be around it. And it was scary.
Yeah. I know.
Scary.
Well, for a while, we had no clue what was going on.
No
we
clue.
we talked about a lot on the podcast. There was a period of time where nobody really knew what was going on, and things were changing minute by minute. Yeah, it was very scary.
So we were talking. We had Joe Hogan from 12 Fox, and I was mentioning that during COVID, 12 Fox and Vista was kind of my safe space, right? Like when the world was just kind of shutting down around and our circles were really small, that my husband and I would go to 12 Fox or take things and go to Vista and hang out. And it seems like you kind of did the same thing. Absolutely. And was offered an opportunity that you couldn't pass up.
I did. So we spent a lot of time at 12 Fox, and they were one of the few people you could get some good groceries from as well as good beer. You know, and we became very good friends with Stacy and Joe. And when everything was happening in healthcare and I was leaving, I just text Stacy. I said, I'm done with healthcare. You know, I'll just do weddings when they start ramping back up with my own business. And she goes, hey, come and manage for me.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, okay, see you Monday. You know? And we're still really, really good friends. But it was great because I got to learn so much from them. They had one of the very first venues here in Dripping. Their venue's amazing. I'm actually doing a wedding there this weekend.
All right.
And that camaraderie.
That's the
Vista West.
Yeah, that's where Tate's was.
Yes.
So my couple's staying at the Creek House, and then they're having their wedding at Vista West. Yeah.
I know. So you can stay on site at Vista. And so I was like, really worried about that because we had a bunch of military people staying on site after partaking in adult beverages, and then it dawned on me as like, well, Joe's going to be out there with him because I mean, it's going to be Stacy that's going to go, shut up, I'm going to bed.
They're so good about it. It's not a big deal. I mean, we had mariachis come out at midnight one time, and they were like, yeah, that's fine. It's good. Geez. I was like, y'all are better than me.
Yeah, better than me for sure.
I'm a light sleeper.
So now you run, along with your partner.
Yes.
You run SoMa Events.
SoMa Events. So AnnMarie Burke is my partner and one of my best friends. I actually met her when she was taking care of one of my kids at a daycare.
Oh, wow.
And she invited me to a New Year's Eve party. That was the bomb. It was so much fun.
That she put on?
That she put on.
Okay.
And we are the ones that are always asked, can you throw the party? Can you design this? Can you? And we always did it just for fun. And everybody's like, why don't you do this for a living? And we're like, well, and then finally one day she called me, she said, let's do it. I said,
and what year was that?
That was she called me in 2018 and we officially established in 2019.
Okay. So you were doing this while you were in the healthcare industry.
Party planning.
Yes. Party planning. And I did it for corporate. So they would, we'd have dinners with doctors. We'd have a party for social workers.
Yeah.
They asked me to throw a baby shower for one of our employees. You know, it was fun.
I totally get it because I'm very much a detail-oriented person. And when I have a party, like everybody in my family hates me because I'm mean.
Yeah.
And I have lists for days. And I just one of my best friends, Dana, she's always kind of like my sous chef. So I understand the process. And, you know, in reading your bio that you sent us, I wanted to read one paragraph that really stuck out to me. It said, most people think planning is super easy. You can follow a generic form to get everything done, and it's just not that easy. There are so many details that can be overlooked, ideas that haven't been thought of, or ways to save on your budget. If you don't have experience, then you just don't know. I tell everyone in my daily life I have professionals that do my taxes, electrical work, plumbing.
Yeah.
And I hire them because of their expertise. But you also have to remember you get what you pay for. Am I the lowest costing coordinator? No. Am I the highest? No. Because I want people to have an amazing wedding. I don't work because I want to. I do it because I love it. And that speaks to your passion right there of why you do it. And I'm sure that your brides and grooms are it's energetic, and it's also contagious, your passion. And, along with your planned myself 3 weddings within the last 18 months for my children.
I was a counselor during those times.
He was an innocent bystander. Poor Steve. Poor Steve.
It is. It's a lot. And if people haven't done it before, they just don't have a clue. And there's a lot of times they have a vision, but they don't know exactly how to put it into words, or they're going, how do you make it go from here to here? And I'm like, girl, I got you. Yeah. We got this. We're going to get this taken care of.
What's the first step? So I'm married already, but I come to you and I go, I'm getting married. I'm having a wedding. What's the first step? What's the first thing you do?
Find your venue.
Yes.
Okay.
Find your venue. Your venue is going to set the tone for a lot. You need your venue. You need your colors. And having your wedding dress helps because that kind of gives you a style as well. And that's part of the process too is, okay, do we want something that is super classy and elegant? Are we going for a barn style? Do you want it outside? Do you want a beach? Do you want a destination wedding? You know, and once you can narrow that down, a lot of the other details fall into place.
So you do weddings all over the place. It doesn't just have to be in Dripping Springs.
Oh, no. I'll go anywhere. I like a good party, so I'll be there.
There you go. And so what are the other steps in that? So you got
budget,
right? Pick
budget
the venue, got to dress, budget.
And then talking to your coordinator and letting them know, this is what I want help with. Because you have some brides who are very hands-on. They like to DIY a lot of stuff. But then you also have ones who send you your Pinterest board and they're like, here's my budget, do it.
I told Steve that Pinterest has really been a driving factor for the wedding industry kind of exploding. And it's kind of a double-edged sword.
It is. It's a rabbit hole.
It totally is. You know, I mean, even just as a bride, you're like, okay, well, sure, Kendall, you can have that, but those flowers are $10,000. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're going to do exactly what Luke Bryan did for his wedding. Yeah, we're going to do, 2 truckloads of baby's breath. No, we're not.
No. Yeah, and baby's breath is crazy expensive, and people don't realize
I think
that
everything's
either.
crazy expensive right now, right?
Everything has really gone up, but there's ways you can still achieve a look, but it can be more budget friendly.
What do you think is the most stressed thing that a bride stresses about, worries about, but really shouldn't? Like, what is the thing they come in, they're like, oh, and you're like, sweetheart.
So there's several things. But a lot of times they come in and they're stressed out because they're afraid of how family's going to react.
Oh.
It's the whole dynamic, or mom's over the top, or I have this one cousin, or
blended families,
blended families are always interesting. Or my grandpa has Alzheimer's. I'm afraid he's going to walk off. So we actually have cheat sheets and lists, and it's like, okay, if I get a little side eye from the bride, I know what's going on. Let me go grab mom and give her a task so that way she's out of the bride's hair.
Oh, I love that.
And then with the grandpa who had dementia, I worked with dementia. I helped build Arvada, which is now Sedalis, over here in Dripping Springs, and then did all the protocols for them. I was like, I got grandpa. We're good.
Oh, that's
you don't have to worry about it. And once they realize they can trust me, a lot of my brides really, really calm down.
And focus on the day.
And focus on yourself. Because I tell everybody when we're doing rehearsal, any questions, do not go to the bride and groom. The only thing they should know about is if they are on fire, nothing else. I will take care of it. I have their vision. I talk to all the vendors. And, they're always concerned about, are the vendors going to show up on time? Mm-hmm. Well, if you tell me 3:00 and you're not here at 3:00, I'm calling, I'm texting until I get a hold of you. Yeah. And, we have some pictures pulled up here in the office, and the floral person on that one about gave me a heart attack.
Oh, really?
She never knew about it until afterwards because we've become really good friends. You see the floral on the farmhouse doors. That showed up 10 minutes before the wedding.
Jeez.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Yeah. And so I was climbing up there on a ladder and putting
look
it
at
up
that.
there.
It's like 10 feet
Oh, that's
above the
the
ground.
venue
yeah.
off of Brody, right?
Yes,
Okay.
that's Homestead.
Yeah, Homestead. Yeah, I know exactly where that is.
I never realized how pretty that was inside.
It's gorgeous.
Kendall did some wedding modeling events in there. It was really pretty.
Oh, cool.
Okay, so I have a question for you.
Okay.
What is the most overrated, overspent, overdone wedding detail, but you can't say party favors?
Party favors, always interesting.
Yeah, because like nobody takes them, and you're like, now
You're stuck with 10,000 cupcakes or cookies or koozies.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bubbles or-
oh gosh, bubbles haven't been a big thing lately. It's been confetti. It's a lot of fun.
Oh, that doesn't sound good.
It's not fun to clean up.
No.
But I would say probably the most overrated are, and I know my florist friends are going to kill me, but the bouquets.
oh,
Because people try to go super extravagant,
Oh, yeah.
or they get this idea, they see a picture and they want it to look exactly like that picture. It's going to look similar.
Yeah.
It's not going to look the
it's
same.
what's in
Yeah.
season and what they can get.
They're
and-
flowers. Yeah.
They're
not-
flowers.
yeah.
But I also tell them, I'm like, if you're spending this kind of money on your bouquet, you repurpose them. So you get your money
That's
out
what
of
I
it.
did. That's what I did. All the bridesmaids now they go in vases.
They
and
go
now
in
they're
vases on the table.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
smart. I didn't think
And
about
even
that.
with the swags, we put them on the sweetheart tables, or we go and put them up by the bar or on a sign-in table, because otherwise you only get to see them for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, so we repurpose a lot.
Yeah. What's the average budget that you get for weddings now?
You know, most weddings will cost around $30,000 to $35,000.
Told you.
I know, it's so expensive.
So much freaking money.
But if you're willing to go in different unorthodox routes, you could probably get it down to 15.
Really?
It's just 15,000.
It's just 15.
That's still a ton of money. That's almost a down payment on a small house.
You know,
I know
30
it is a small car.
yeah, for sure.
I think our wedding total, and of course I was married in 93. I think our wedding total cost $2,000. But see, here was the caveat. My mom worked for Bubba Smith, the football player, and he owned a catering company, and that was my wedding gift. He catered my wedding for me. So I kind of got off that.
Well, when I got married, we had 3 weeks to get married. A friend of mine was a florist. She did all the floral. A friend of mine was a baker. She did the cakes. I got married in the assisted living I was working at because it had a beautiful courtyard. And all the residents did the flowers for us and bought bunnies to hop around in the courtyard for us.
That's amazing.
And my Jewish fairy godmother was a photographer as well, and he took our pictures.
there you go.
And
So
I got married by Ricky Williams, but not that Ricky
Yes.
Williams.
it takes a village. And, you know,
takes a
I think
village.
to have somebody on your side, I have been the planner for all of the kids, but it has been, I regret that decision very much so, because I find that as the mother of fill in the blank, either the groom or the bride, that I was missing out on a lot of the stuff that everybody else was getting to enjoy, because I was worried about, even though I was getting my hair and makeup done, I was worried about when that vendor's coming in, or did they get ice, or and then when the wedding was going on, Steve saw this. I remember right after the week after, everybody's sitting down enjoying, and I'm like directing traffic. Okay, this table,
Yes.
you can go to that table, and that's where I think I made the biggest mistake of all the weddings, is where I should have had a planner.
so you could enjoy the day.
So
you
I
can
could have
enjoy
enjoyed.
the day.
Yeah.
Well, and my oldest, Tyler, was like, "You're going to do my wedding." I was like,
No,
"I
not-
will design it, but somebody's coordinating it
Yeah.
because I want to enjoy it."
Without a doubt.
I walk anywhere between 8 and 13 miles during a wedding.
Jeez.
I want to enjoy her wedding,
Yeah.
you know, but you hire somebody to take on all that and make sure toasts are getting done and you're cutting the cake and, you know, tables are released and let's do the first dance. And you hire somebody to worry about that so you can really enjoy the day. Because then you go back and look at pictures and you're like, I miss that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and also the other big lesson I learned was don't count on your venue, even though they say day of coordinator. No, they'll flip a switch on for you, or, you know, they may answer a question here and there, but you really need somebody that's your advocate.
Yes.
That can go to you. And I would say, do not bother that bride. Do not bother the groom.
Do not.
Yeah.
So it's really an on-site manager is what a lot of the venues have. And they do. They flip a switch. If something's flooding, they'll go and take care of it. But they're not there to guide you, to line
Manage.
you up,
Right.
to manage people.
Right. Have you got any wedding horror stories?
I do, but some of them are not really appropriate.
Oh.
Then
Well,
do tell.
those are the ones we want to hear. Yeah.
I'm like, for the most part, ours are pretty flawless.
Okay.
I did have one, most of the time you invite all these guests and you have a pretty decent guest count, and usually fewer people show up. I had 20 extra people show up.
That's a Lewis wedding.
Yeah.
That's a Lewis wedding.
Yeah. And so we were like, okay, we got to get this. We got to do this. We got to find tablecloths. We got to decorate it. But we got it done without everybody noticing. And it's traumatic for us, but the bride usually doesn't.
Any
know
fights at a wedding?
I have had to kick somebody out. I actually, I was very nice. I offered to pay for his Uber. I had an Uber show up. He would not get in there, but he was disrupting the wedding. Yeah. And that's not okay.
He was drunk?
He was drunk. Yeah, it was not okay. And then he put his hand on me and I cranked his arm. I said, touch me again. Let's see what happens.
Good for you.
Yeah.
It's like, I am not doing this.
Yeah.
So she's also security.
I'm security. Well. Yeah. I've had to kick people out of weddings, and that's an awful part, but it's also necessary because I want my bride and groom to have an amazing time. And if you're over there acting like a jerk,
you act like a damn fool.
Everybody's going to be talking about that and not the wedding.
Yeah.
Takes the whole night down.
It does.
Yeah.
Or people who try to get behind the bar. And I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
Back up. You're not mixing your own drinks.
Yeah.
I'm sure that you get to see a lot of different types of family dynamics too. And looking back, I think it's sometimes hard when you're doing something and you're so passionate about what you do for a living, looking back at your own life. And, what do you appreciate most in your own life?
I appreciate, and I tell everybody this and they think I'm corny, but it's my family. My family's who recharges my battery. People are like, what do you do for fun? Oh, I go and do stuff with my kids. That's what recharges me. I've always been huge on family. I have a huge family. I have an uncle who will just show up from Kansas and stay a week. I mean, it's just having that type of interaction and that downtime. Because when your kids are like, I love you so much, because I know they're not going to love me when they're teenagers.
No, they don't.
And that's okay, but they like me now.
Yeah.
So,
that's right.
but just spending the time with everybody.
Why do you think your partner and AnnMarie and you get along so well?
We're bluntly honest. I mean, we have some disagreements, but we talk through them. But her and I know where each other stand all the time. And anytime we've had a huge milestone in our life, we've been there for each other.
That's such a key to a good working relationship. That's Steve and I.
I agree. Yeah.
He'll come in the door and I'll be like, I don't know what you think you're wearing.
Yeah. The passive aggressive.
I don't play that.
I don't play that either. I've always appreciated when somebody that really loves and cares for me comes to me and says, "Hey, this is happening, or you're doing this, or that's because most people don't do it."
Right. Well, when you're running a business and you have two different people, two different ideas, you really have to have that open communication and talk through it. And I mean, we can be so bluntly honest. I mean, she's told me before, that looks like crap on you. I'm like, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm like, please tell me this.
Michelle says it to me all the time.
All the time.
I just like to poke sometimes, just to poke. Sarah, what do you want to achieve next? Like, what is next for you?
I've been looking at a lot of different things. I feel like I've just really found what I want to be when I grow up. I said that until I was like 38. I was like, what do I really want to be when I grow up? And, doing these weddings makes my heart super happy. So possibly eventually maybe owning a venue and doing that, because it's my wheelhouse.
I hear there's a lot of money in that, by the way.
And a lot of hard work.
Wow,
yeah.
But, I like to be there on people's best days. I don't mind being there on their worst days either. It's part of being in healthcare. I just like to help.
Well, we look forward to seeing where it leads you, and having your footprint in the community is very important, and getting to know you. And we hope to see you at Founders Day too.
I will be there.
Well, we'll watch for you at Founders Day. We're going to have a booth, so we'll be set up. We're actually going to be podcasting live there. So.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
My husband's on the board, so he's helping with the security. So.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll see him.
There, we'll see him there.
He's way more over the top than I am.
Oh, yeah. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for coming in. We really enjoyed this time with you.
Thank you. I've enjoyed it as
Our
well.
pleasure, for sure.
Sarah Debish, SoMa Events. Thanks for coming in.
This show is brought to you in part by the Mallett Integrity Team, serving Dripping Springs, Austin, and the surrounding areas of Central Texas since 2004. When you need the best real estate advice and service, give them a call at 512-829-2062 or email them at mallettintegrityteam.com.
Thanks for listening.
If you have comments or feedback, please email us at mallettandmichelle@gmail.com.
Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Mallett and Michelle.
Listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher.
Please follow us and leave a review.
Thanks again for listening.